Great. All the best.
So, good morning. I'm Panya Gulati, and right now I am. Okay, good morning. I'm Panya Gulati, and right now I am part of a project called Pavira Future that focuses on inspiring young girls from rural India to that inspires them and inspires them in general. So right now I have um, Dr. Amandeep Kahlon Sandhu with me, and I'm going to interview her. Can you give us a little introduction?
Good morning, Panya. It's a pleasure to be part of your project. And it's a wonderful initiative. And yes, we need to inspire young girls everywhere. We all need inspiration at every age. And even I get inspired, with so many things. And your project inspires me at this moment. I worked with Meher Baba Charitable Trust, Fatehgarh Saab as CEO for 5 years. And we did do we undertook number of initiatives, and one of the major ones which I believe you are interested in is the Hockey Nursery, wherein young girls and boys came together to learn hockey and play together. And it was 6 days a week initiative for 2 hours. From Monday to Saturday they would get together in the evening, and on Sunday it was a morning 3 hour training. And well, it's I firmly believe it's a wonderful initiative. And currently the project, although I'm no longer with the trust, it's being funded by the German embassy in India. So you can understand it's how well it is appreciated by people.
So you were the CEO for 5 years. Like, what was the main purpose of the trust? Like, I know that the Hockey Nursery is one of the things, but were they like, what was the main purpose, the overall idea, the overall concept, the overall initiative, the idea you wanted to convey from it?
Okay, of the trust in general, you want to know.
Yeah.
So, well, it's a family supported trust, although it is run by professionals. And the family belongs to that area, Basi Patana. And they had converted their family property into this huge community center where people from all around could come in there were a number of initiatives. The basic initiative, the vision behind the program is to bridge the gap between the rural and urban. There is a divide in the opportunities available to people in cities versus those who are in rural areas. So the primary vision, the primary aim is to bridge that. And how we do that, how the trust does that is to have programs in different areas. So Hockey Nursery is one of the initiatives which is for children from 4 to 14 or 15 years, then there is a program for older girls, about any age above 16 years, 18, around 18 years, and no bar. They could start at 16 or 18, depending upon whether their parents were, because you need that's where the skills came in, for it could be stitching, it could be embroidery, it could also be training in beauty as a beautician. So that was a skill program for women. Then there was another skill program, and for that boys and girls both could come in, and that was on computers. You well understand that computer education is very important, and the idea was to give them the youngsters of that area an opportunity to work on computers and pick up basic skills like presentation, Word, Excel, and also to work online. So that was another project. And then health is a big concern in that area. So we had camps every week with the doctors from School of Public Health, PGI, coming in to join in. And the aim was to take care of the elderly who have been suffering from diseases which are silent killers like hypertension and diabetes. And finally, there is this program on community development wherein we would go into the villages. So all these programs, for these programs, they are in the trust or around the trust. Then there is this outreach, which is you go to the village, you sit there, work with them, and you work around issues which they bring up. So one of the major issues was water, sanitation, and hygiene, which was identified. Another was on Anganwadis, which is again coming back to, small children. But in this case, they're very small children. Parents send them Anganwadis, you're well aware. Every village has one. And the small babies, what do they what does the Anganwadi worker do with them? She takes care of them. Also, there is some simple how do you call it, nursery training is there, very very preliminary early education. And finally, again, health being a concern, but in this case, every ailment of the which the villagers would bring up would be looked at. Like one of the villagers had some concerns with cancer. So the doctors from School of Public Health, PGI, would refer them to their colleagues who could take care of their issues. So it's all the projects that were run by the trust were with collaboration with experts, so we were just the community level um, integrators, wherein we would look at what the community wants and see how best we could find resources to take care of that. So that's what our role was.
Okay, so I think that's a very good thing because it really does hold out more opportunities to, offers more opportunities to the underprivileged part of society. So,
Yes.
uh, was it set specifically to help the girl child or small kids growing up in rural India, or just for women, or like is it set to help anybody who is in rural India who's underprivileged?
Well, the entire population actually, it's a community approach. First, what I would like to put forward is that you cannot just, like, why is the girl child? Why is the girl child? Why is a woman? Even young men, or the elderly. Why do they need care? It's basically it's a community level initiative, to find out reasons and how best they can be bridged, because you can't just take up one issue in isolation and deal with it. It's a multi-pronged approach to look at the entire environment in which that issue um, is festering, because only then can you take care of it. So Fatehgarh Saab ranked one of the lowest in the country um, on on certain parameters, and one of them was the as you know, the girl child, how many births per thousand, and Fatehgarh Saab was the worst in Punjab and right near the bottom in the country. However, because of it, many many initiatives, not just by the trust but also at the district level, in 10 years time this situation was taken care of to a large extent, and Fatehgarh Saab is no longer at the bottom. It's so the success is there if you look at the entire community, to see how best you can, in fact, even the initiative of Hockey Nursery, it bridges this gap very successfully, because We are not just, if you just sit there and say, bring me your daughters, and we would like to train them, nobody is going to send their daughters just like that. You need to show them that you have some sort of the ground is there, you have equipment to train them, you're willing to also provide them some sort of nutrition, because the child is going to be playing, have undergoing some sort of a strenuous exercise. Mm. So and the parents have to be, just as you have parent teacher meetings in school, similarly, with the parents, again the coaches would sit down, have a fortnightly meeting, and look at the concerns of the parents and the children. That's how you make a program a success.
Yeah, so usually, as far as I know, uh, the main initiative for such programs is that benefit underprivileged parts of population living in rural areas. So the main initiative is normally just to educate the boys and educate the yeah, the boys, and to teach the girls how to sew or to knit, but MBCT chose to focus on sports for both. And why did MBCT choose that? Why was it sports?
So it's a good question. Firstly, advocacy programs are also very successful. It's not that they aren't needed, they are very much required. Along with advocacy programs, you do need to also offer solutions. So Hockey Nursery is a solution towards the gender gap, that why can't girls and boys be together? What is it that is concerning the parents? Firstly, the girls weren't really allowed out of the house, especially the poorer section. um, it's when you see underprivileged is a very broad definition. You have to look at the concerns which are coming up from families, and the ones which come up are poverty is number one. Secondly, there are caste based issues also, and third, there are issues regarding access to like I said, sports facilities, just one of them, even education, school. So what parents do is that they would send a child to the Anganwadi, if it's in Anganwadi is in the village, so yes. Primary school in the village, yes, primary school education is there. But if there is no senior school, girls are not sent to study outside the village. And forget about college, because in the entire district, the college at that point of time happened to be only in Sirhind, Fatehgarh Sahib. So the village girls were not really being educated. So yes, the trust could have thought of setting up a school or something also. However, hockey and sports, so basically the first selection was picking up sports, and why sports? Because it leads to holistic health. The child does physical activity, the child is mentally engaged, emotionally, physically, completely engaged in the game. And training in sports, when you are playing alongside a boy, the gender differences melt away, and what stays is how good are you with the skill set, how good are you in let's say with moving your hockey stick. And the reason why hockey was picked up is because hockey is the main sport game played in Punjab, and that's the reason why hockey was picked up. Plus, of course, Patiala, which is the National Institute of Sports, is close by, and their coaches are the one who come down to coach the children. And yes, young children, when they come to play hockey, it's not just hockey they are playing. They are learning all other skills also. They are made to run, they are made to do yoga also. There is some meditation also. And yes, every fortnight they also play football. So hockey is the game in which their skills are being developed, but aim is full physical training.
Yeah. So I think that is a very good way to bridge the gender gap from an early age, or just from the start, so that they understand that it's okay like this, that they're equal. So but did you have trouble convincing the parents to send their daughters?
Well, I have to tell you that the founder trustee, when he started this trust, he went village to village, met with the sarpanches, and also those who can influence behavior. You see, ultimately, just offering options are not enough. You have to make them attractive also. So he played a large role because he went door to door, and he convinced parents by sharing that, why don't you come to the ground and see what is happening. See, ultimately, unless the parent sees, and that's why a game like hockey works, because it's an open field visible from all four sides. In fact, the general population could also come and sit there and see the girls and boys play. So it's not as if it was happening behind closed doors, so the parents weren't aware what's happening. They could come, and plus having experts from NIS Patiala helped a lot. Who better to train than those who had trained or were training the Indian hockey teams. So the first thing is you have to meet up with the parents, and you do that with the help of the sarpanch or other influential people in the village. And second, you invite them to the ground, you make them interact with the coaches, see what is happening. And third, what happens is when you get even a few children to do something, once they start learning something, they start going home, and the posture improves, the presentation improves, the confidence levels improve. Then the first 25, 50, they attract more. So while I was working there were more than 100 children being trained by the hockey nursery.
Wow, that
In
is
fact,
that.
had to turn away children.
Wow, that's like this. I mean, it was a really, it's like a really good initiative to be teaching sports, and to be showing the parents, to making sure that they know what is happening, that they know that their children are in good hands. I think that makes them feel comfortable, and that everybody's happy, I guess. So um, but what incentives did you use exactly to encourage parents of girls, to send them out to play sports? Given that it's such a patriarchal society, like if you had to, talk to the influential people, show them that this is what is happening. Uh, like, was that the only way, or did some people may have been stubborn? Did you have to leave them or something, or did you keep trying?
Well, you see, the incentive in this case is that the parent is not really spending anything. So the children are being trained free of charge, number one. Two, they are getting a uniform, they're getting a dress, and if you ask me, the concern was less to do with, first you get a few children, they come in. The concern was majorly around the dress. They had to wear shorts, and that is where the problem came in. So the girls could wear leggings under their shorts and play. So that was a more of a concern rather than hockey per se. And the girls and boys, everyone who was part of the hockey nursery, every day post their training would get milk with bonvita and a banana. So the parent was sure that it's not as if the child is going to come home and be hungry, and also not have enough energy. So that was the aim. Sunday, because it was a little longer training, they would get porridge with dry fruits and all. And winter, they would actually get even better diet, because it richer diet they would get. So one aspect was this, that they were what is the fear of the parent? The first is, of course, to see that the girl is safe, which they ensured by coming to the ground and seeing it's open from all side. There are best of coaches available, and there were women also around who were called matrons, who would take the child to the washroom and back in case, so that the girl child didn't have to be alone. So it's not as if there was only male staff. There were at least four matrons who were around there to help the coaches in case of any need, and nutrition was being provided. And finally, like I said, there were meetings fortnightly held initially, and we had an interaction not just with coaches, but the doctors would come in and also help the parents plan the diet of the child with the food which is locally available. So they were counseled on how they could make use of jaggery, of wheat grass, of amla gooseberry. How do you mix local ingredients and ensure that your child's nutrition needs are fulfilled? So that kind of, when that kind of counseling is happening, you see, that's I would not call it as an incentive, but it's more to, it puts the mind at ease, and the parent is happy to send the child for such training.
Yeah, so I think that is a really well-structured system in which you don't charge the parents and they know exactly what's going on. So I think they feel really comfortable with their child going to learn hockey. So uh, seeing that with the that just because they were like so comfortable with it, or because it was made to make sure that both parties are comfortable, do you think you managed to change the villagers opinions long term? Like they thought that, okay, we can trust these people, it's okay. And do you think that is you managed to change it long term, like it's still there?
Well, it's yes, their opinion about the trust changed. I mean, in the sense that we developed an opinion which was positive, because earlier there was no opinion that they would when the trust started functioning, the first thing you do is to ensure that the villagers support you. Only then can an NGO be successful. If the villagers don't want to participate in a program or a project, then you don't even start off. So in a way you can say that the initiatives was received first hesitatingly, and then they warmed up to the idea and started sending their children for hockey training. Now, concerns kept coming up in different ways. Like, let's say you want to come and so one is they start training. So what then? What then? You are just doing training there and that's it. No. Every there was a hockey camp being organized every once in summers, and once in winters, wherein other teams would also come to play. And then the MBCT team, hockey team, would also go out to play, let's say in Chandigarh or Sirhind or some other place. Now, getting parents to agree to send their girls, now those are the kind of concerns which would come up, different concerns. Certainly, I would say, when you look at, would this kind of an initiative change the entire mindset of a village? I really don't know, how far one can make. It's a very it's to what extent, certainly the parents who put their children with the trust, they were certainly much more positive, and they would talk positively about the organization. Also, they were very keen that their daughters would get selected by Sports Academy of India, which happens only when the child turns 14. So then they have to go for trials. And then what happens is it's a residential training. You see, the training which the trust is giving is, it's called nursery. Why is it called hockey nursery? It is not called an hockey academy. because hockey nursery means that children are still small, they're young, they are being developed, while the real expert training, wherein a child gets trained either as a forward or a goalkeeper. So we were also doing that. The trust was also doing that. But that starts getting firmed up once a child goes to a bigger academy, like the SAI academy, or there are other academies also, wherein the children then practice morning and evening, and they live there in hostel. So that is another concern, will the girl's parents send the girl there for training or not? So those were the concerns which came up with the parents.
So yeah, so like so to some point the villages were supportive. Most villages or some villages
Yeah.
supported or supportive of the trust. So but what challenges did you face as a woman heading the trust? Because like was there any because given that it's such a patriarchal society, especially in the rural parts, if they were like, okay, it's run by a woman, then what do we do? Was there any concern like that like that?
Well, first, the board was very supportive of my role there, and they they always put me up front, So if something was to be inaugurated, or if there was a meeting at the district level, or somebody was coming from abroad, they would always position me as the person to interact and to take it forward, because the board our board members are very busy people. So first, when as a CEO, I think if the board backs you, um, it's much easier, your life is easier. And then the staff, the trust staff, there were around 50 people working there. They all also see that, if someone has come from outside, probably there is a skill set which is required. And you have to then be open with the people who are working there, and let them know that, you mean well. First, you are adopting the same you're going to be accessible. So my office door used to be always open. I would never use my AC. Only when there was a visitor would I switch on the AC. So it didn't look as if, I was having the luxury of sitting in an air conditioned office while everybody was out working in the villages, or sitting with just a fan. So the first is that, you drop that barrier which visibly deters people, from interacting with you. I would go into the villages. I would also go every Sunday morning for the training, and never really ran with them, but I did try to pick up a couple of hockey skills. I would sit with them, talk with them. You interact with the parents, with the villagers, with the sarpanch. So you just have to be accessible. If you're accessible, people start trusting you, and that, I think, is very helpful. In fact, out of 50 people, I have to tell you, the trust had about 22 or 23 women working there. So it's not that they were teaching something and not practicing it. So the trust itself, even currently, there are in fact more women working there.
Yeah. So I think that is also a very good thing. But has the administration of or the Punjab government been supportive of MBCT? Like, have they, said that given you any support in any form, or recognized you?
Well, yes. In fact, it's only been growing, and currently, the trust was partnering with the district in COVID times also. While I was there in 2013, the trust organized a national championship in which teams from other states of the country, in fact, from Maharashtra, from Goa, from Tamil Nadu, everywhere, Chhattisgarh. Teams came from all over the country. and those girls were actually put up by the at the local there is this there was this big police training area where the girls were put up. Yes, the trust received support from the district administration. They were always part of the DC, the SSP, the local. When you come to the STM, so the trust ensured that it worked closely with the district administration to understand if there were some specific concerns to be taken care of, and they also understood that the trust was actually doing yeoman's work in the area.
Yeah, and like, so did you get any international support or recognition?
Yes, MBCT has been. See, how do you consider an NGO to be recognized? If you can raise funds, that's one of the ways to see, because someone will give you money only if they trust that you're doing good work. So the trust has received funds from the Canadian government. Like I told you, that the Hockey Nursery currently is being funded by the German embassy, and also we've received the trust has received funds from State Bank of India, some companies, and whenever there is a championship or any project which is undertaken, let's say oh yes, the trust has been supported by the Rotary, um, the Rotarians, the Rotary circles of various cities. So this is from Rotary of Utah, has been supportive of the organization's programs. And if there are any projects, like let's say a championship organized, or any other programs, so there are sponsorships uh, which are solicited, and the companies do support.
Okay, so seeing as MBCT had such a different approach to educating or just teaching the people, kids living in rural India. Um, what would you personally like NGOs which want to work with the girl child to focus on? Would you like them to give an all-rounded experience or something, or would you want them to focus on one aspect of life? Like, yeah.
I think whatever that works best depends upon where the NGO is located. So in this case, the founding trustee was very clear what he wanted to do, which was to bridge and provide opportunities at par, which are available in urban areas to people in rural areas. So it depends upon what is the vision of the organization. Now, I know of NGOs which only work with children in the area of, let's say, providing painting, doing painting workshops, art classes, dance classes, and it's it's a vast area, and I think any NGO looking at what their vision is can step into to any little space which they find themselves, uh, and it's it depends upon what are the resources at your disposal. um, I was very fortunate to work with an NGO which had a family which put in a large corpus fund, and also provided such a huge community center to work out of, so the general running of the trust was never a concern, so there was opportunity, and there is opportunity to do more. In fact, part of their area they had also sealed during the last 1 year, 1.5 years, to provide space for, in fact, COVID patients, in case it is required. because in villages there's less scope of people being able to um, provide a room for someone who's suffering from COVID. So that space was available in the trust, and they made it available in this case. It may not be available with other NGOs. So thus I feel that it's very limiting to come out and say only this area will work best or that should be done. To each his own. There is a lot to be done. Um, I have we've the NGO I worked with was geographically defined, in the district of Fatehgarh Sahib. There are NGOs working in across India. Like Cry India works across India. There are many NGOs which work across India. They will select a project, and then they do it in various districts of the country. So all approaches, I think, can work well if they are planned out well, organized well. You have good partners like we at the trust. What worked very well and beautifully was that with us was the coaches were from NIS, the doctors came from School of Public Health, PGI. You had any other training which you wanted to do, you had experts in sociology, psychology who could step in and help out. So so bringing all these resources together, I think has been very helpful for MBCT.
Okay, so are you like satisfied with the work, the overall work that it has been done by MBCT, or do you feel that there is more that can be done with MBCT, that they can be
Well,
developed?
I think MBCT, what MBCT has done or is doing, should be replicated by organizations in other areas. You see, MBCT is limited to this geographically. Like I said, it's a defined scope of operations. And while there, what came to my attention, and everybody would come to me and say is that why not come to this district? Why not come to Gurdaspur? Why not come to um, uh, Ropur district and do a project or a program? So that wasn't going to happen because the scope was very clearly defined. And so not MBCT, because I think MBCT is doing uh, much more than what can be on one organization's plate in a district. However, there is need. um, there are a lot of areas wherein organizations can step in and provide opportunities to not just the girl child, but also to the boys. You see what works well for the girl. If you want the girl to be safe, you also have to do training for the boys. So whenever we had community doctors coming in, they would not just work with the girls, we were working with the boys also, to treat a girl with respect, to talk it with respect, and to they are many times they are training together, they are playing together, and they are going to be seen outside together. So how are you going to be behaving with the girl? How are you respectful towards a girl? So similar programs, if they are held across the country, I think it would be better. We just can't focus on the girl child and think that's going to be helpful. We also need to work with the boys to be much more responsible of their own actions, their speech when they are interacting with girls.
Yes, so I think that's a very good thing, because you're not just, separating the boys from the girls and, saying that, focusing on the girls. You're putting them both together and telling them, okay, this is how you act around each other. Be nice, be like this. So I think it's a much better way of, ensuring that it's a much more, peaceful society. So, what do you think is what do you feel is a little act that everybody could add to their daily life to benefit children growing up in rural India, or who don't have access to a right education or right resources to live what we call a normal life?
Well, you see, the first thing is to understand that they are no different from you. I firmly believe you need to take away the differences. They may not have access to the same technologies as you have. They may not be growing in the with the same privileges that as you have, but their dreams are the same. They too want to do well, they do want to have be successful. And human spirit is the same everywhere. So I guess every morning when you get up is what you as what you can do is to just send a prayer out, to all the young girls and boys everywhere in the world, who may not have the same opportunities, and may they be well. Firstly, I believe even wishing for them, praying for them is very helpful. And then you come to what is it that you what are your current circumstances, what do you have the capacity to do. Can you run a project for them? Can you support a project for them? Can you just go outside of your city, Hyderabad, and see what can be done with the girls there, or maybe with the girls within Hyderabad? Could you go and sit with them and talk with them about their issues? Are there areas in where something like that can be done? So it's rather than taking the pressure, it's always best to see what is the individual capacity to do something. So that's always helpful. So prayer works because you're acknowledging firstly that we are all the same. You're also acknowledging differences in opportunities, differences in families, differences, even in cities and in privileged households. There could be differences in how girls are being treated, how girls and boys are treated alike or not. So that stems only through kindness and compassion. So when you say a prayer for them, you're opening yourself to that. So first that, and then you look at, beyond that, what is it? Do you want to offer your skills? Maybe you want to every weekend spend 1 hour training or teaching somebody, because now at least because of COVID, even in the villages, a lot of children are now learning online. They may not have such good bandwidth, they may not have very good Wi-Fi's, and they may all be using one phone. Even in the house, there are two children, and so you have to see if something like that could be undertaken, by children in cities. How do you do an outreach with children in rural areas? So rather than aiming for very far, you look around your city and see if you would like to adopt would your school like to adopt a village? Or maybe because you come from a more privileged, much more resource rich school, you could adopt a government school to work with. Yes. So that you could have an exchange of students, every month or every quarter, you get together and do some project together. Just bringing down the barriers is works well.
Yeah, so I think that is a really good way to, it's really just a little thought that could change a lot of, yeah, it's just a little thing that, if everybody, acknowledged the differences and worked on how we could, bridge it, you know, you know, just eliminate that gap of, difference in opportunities. I think everybody would be like really happy about it. So just a little, the last question is going to be a bit about, just really personal, but just, really related directly to you. So what is like just a little bit about, I just want to know a little bit about your daily life. Like, what do you do now? What makes you happy? And what do you feel like, what is something that you really enjoy in your daily routine, or something that you really like nowadays?
Okay, so well, I do run some. So after I left the NGO, I was actually I've been engaged with gardening in a big way, and now I run my own aquatic garden center, and it's the first of its kind in Chandigarh. I offer a range of lotus, about more than 100 varieties of water lilies and marginal plants. I've been always fond of nature, and it just felt good to come back to it. But because both my children are now grown up, and my son is running his own business, and my daughter is in college, so I had more time, and I wanted to do different things, And working with this NGO made me realize that. So many things we take life for granted. So I wanted to get back in touch with nature, do some meditation also, and along with it I do get opportunities to run some training workshops online, and I do that. I just finished did one with a company in Pune, and locally also sometimes, university Punjab University calls me sometimes to do a training workshop or something, so I do those too.
Okay, so that is a this interview is very insightful, and I'm pretty sure viewers will agree with me. So thank you for being here, and taking out your time for this interview.
Thank you, Panya. It was a pleasure, and it's lovely that you were interested and so interested in what is happening in rural areas, and also for young girls. And I think one needs to start early, where to empower young girls, and in fact, I would say that to let the girls have their own power. Who are we? Who are the who are we to empower young girls? Girls have their own power. We just need to give them an environment so that they can come to fruition. Their efforts can come to fruition. So it's been lovely talking to you, and wish you the very best with your project and more such interviews. Thank you. Thank you.